So what are all the factors that go into putting a budget together to live in the Philippines full time? I've got one you really need to look at. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. A lot of things go into planning a budget to come live in the Philippines. A lot of factors you have to look at. People are always asking, especially on the Facebook forums, how much does it cost to live in the Philippines? Well, I mean, there's just so many different ways you can answer that. Your lifestyle, where you're going to live, uh, it's almost impossible to give an answer to that. So hopefully what many of you have been doing is looking at YouTube videos and talking to people on Facebook groups, expat groups, and getting a rough idea, for your lifestyle. If you're married, you're going to have kids. So many factors go into it. But there's one thing that I don't see talked about hardly at all, and is really very important, and people just kind of look past it and don't see, and that is exchange rates. Okay, the exchange rate normally is about 50 to 1 for USD. Right now it's 52, so it's just up a little bit. Just maybe 9 months ago it was 47 and a half, so it's up 4.5, which a lot of people don't think that's a lot, but if you've got an income of 2,000 a month, that's 9,000 pesos. 9,000 peso goes a long ways here. So it's really something you need to look at. So I got something here on the computer. I'll go to that next, and we'll look at that. Okay. Okay. Here I just went to Google, and I just typed in USD to PHP, and when it comes up, you get right away you get this graph right here. And this thing is a really useful tool for looking at the past history of the exchange rate. And right now it's got 1 month on there, and you can see we've had a little bit of a bounce. Okay, and currently we're at 52.26. Now if you go and hit the 1 year, you can come down and see where back in June 8th, so what, 3 months ago, 9 months ago, I'm sorry, 47.59. So we've had a bounce right now of about, close to 4.5 pesos, which, still that's not too much, but it is an improvement. But now here we can look at the 5-year, and you can see right here is across this line right here is 50. And this is where a lot of people will say that the exchange rate for USD, 50 is the benchmark, or normally 50 is about what you would look at. And if you're looking at the 5-year, well, that's kind of true, right along there. That is pretty true. Of course, we did have this dip here, but then, we were at 50, almost 54.05 in October 2018. So yeah, it's up and it's down, and the average is about 50 for a 5-year. Now, if you go to the max, there's the 50 line right there. Now, this goes back about 18 years, 18 and a half years or so. December 26, 2003, 55.24. Actually went a little higher. Before this, it actually hit 57 at one time, about a year before this in 2002. Okay, so as you can see, if you're looking at the 50 line there, 50 over the last 18, 19, 20 years has not been the average. Okay, it's been below that. Now you can see there was 2 really bad periods right here. And she got down to 40.55, February 2008. Now, you can see by the shape of that V that it was fairly quick. And we'll look at 50 as the baseline. November 2006. Now we'll come back where it came back up. 49.32, November 2008. And it never actually got back to 50. 49.32 was the highest. Okay, so that wasn't too long a period of time. And it did come right back up kind of sharply. But like I said, when it's going down, you don't know where the bottom is. But then it started this long, gradual up and down, up and down, up and down, but mostly down. And again, it hit 40, or 40.61, February 22, 2013. And before it got back to 50 again, 50.20 in August 4th, 2017. So that's like over 8 years that it started down and before it actually recovered to 50 again. 8 years. That's a long time, people. So definitely something to factor in. Now, luckily it did keep climbing a bit, but then it went down. So that's why last year there was a bit of concern whether or not this would continue down again. Fortunately, it didn't. But we don't know. And that's the thing. We have no control over this, but you definitely need to understand it. Okay? So hopefully that will help you look at it. You can pop that up and look at it. And of course, I'm talking USD, and I apologize to those that use other denomination. You can go on here real quick and pull up anything you want real quick. All the different ones are here. You know, go down here and look at your euro, which has been kind of on a downslide, especially the last year. They had some bad times here about the same time. Up, down, Europe. So yeah, you can look at all the different ones. And they do differ. Sometimes a lot of the Western countries kind of follow the same. Other times they don't. They're on little different paths depending on this, World markets are much different now. And another thing I'll say is people have said, oh, you can live like a king on $500 a month here. Well, here's where that all came from. Way back here, 2002, 2004, when it was 56.20. And things cost a lot less then, especially food, which is one of your larger part of your budget's going to be food here nowadays. Back then, food was a lot cheaper. Rent, rents were cheaper a little bit. Home prices were cheaper, but not as much as stuff like food. So here, if you had 500 USD, you could do okay. But that was, 18 years ago. So that's where you'll hear those stories. Oh, you can live on 500. It's not true anymore. Okay? Don't believe those things. Have people done it nowadays? Yes. Can everyone do it? Certainly not. I'm not even going to attempt it. All right. So another thing to look at. These were the heydays. They were good times back then. Okay. All right. Well, you can see by the graph that things do change sometimes. And right now the world has, been acting a little bit strange the last couple of years and what's going on right now over in Europe. So not to be a fearmonger or anything like that, but it's definitely something you have to look at and something you really need to fix into your budget. And when I talk budgets, and I've said this before, there's a difference between income and budget. And you should have something of a buffer zone in there that I've talked about before. How much you make and how much you spend, or your budget here in the Philippines. Hopefully you've got a buffer zone there, okay? Of course, if you don't have a lot to begin with, your buffer zone is probably kind of small, but you really need something here. So the exchange rate is going to affect everybody. You may have a high income here, but maybe you're living, pretty much up to it, and you don't even have a buffer zone there. You might be able to downgrade a bit. I know I could get along with spending less, but there's a point where those exchange rates coming down and you don't know where it's going to stop. You know, when they were going down there for that 4 years, you don't know. You're just hoping. But if you have a buffer zone, you can absorb it. You know, when times are good, like they are now, 52, take care of things you need to get. But be putting money away in that emergency account. Hopefully you've got one planned, or you have one. If you're, if you're already living here, you're putting money into that. Hopefully we won't have to draw back from that to get by through the tough time. Having to bail out and go back to our home country is not an option I really want to look at. So I'm trying to plan for this. Plus, just planning for emergencies of any kind. So, do take a look at it. Do try to factor that into your budget. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you again soon. Bye.